Welcome to the Vergecast, the flagship podcast of testing cursed technology. I'm your friend V Song, and I'm here with a special Sunday bonus episode. Yay! We're calling this AI for Normies. So here's the concept. AI can be so open-ended. It's really hard for the average person to know what it's good for. And if you ask me, I don't think big tech is doing such a great job at explaining that either. But we here at TheVerge.com are a bunch of giant nerds, and we test all of this stuff for a living. So I've asked a bunch of my colleagues to join me in talking about how they've used AI in their everyday lives. And I'm not talking about the canned demo examples that you hear at product launches that don't actually seem all that useful in real life. I wanted to know what they found to be actually helpful, and I also wanted to know what doesn't work. We have a mix of practical applications, some quirky ideas, and personally, I think my main use is a little unhinged. So stick around for the Vergecast, and we'll see you after the break. Hey, you're back. So Esther Cohen is our director of subscriptions at The Verge, and she recently used ChatGPT to help gather the information she needed before making a really big decision.
So as of last week, our family of four made the really big change of moving from New York City, Upper West Side in New York City, to Miami Beach in Florida.
Moving is really tough. I moved not a couple of years ago to New Jersey, and I never want to do it again. I never want to move ever again. I probably will, but it's really tough. It's really hard. And you said that you were using AI to help you figure out how to manage this logistical nightmare.
Yeah, so I found myself using AI surprisingly a lot for my move, in terms of planning, finding out information, finding out kind of how things work locally, because when you're moving to a new state and a new city, like the way things work are just totally different. But I would say the most helpful and surprising way in which I used AI for this move was actually for budgeting specifically. When you move from Manhattan, New York to Florida, your taxes are extremely different.
Mm-hmm.
And things like how much utilities cost, how much gas costs, how much traffic there is during the day in your commute, and so calculating how many miles your car lease should have. I was like hanging out with ChatGPT all day asking those questions. So I was very surprised. I surprised myself by how much I used it every day.
So one of the things with AI that people have trouble with is having to double check that information. Did you find that it's so far? I know you just moved, so some of this will bear out over time. Did you find that those calculations were realistic? Were you worried about double checking stuff?
Yeah, so I'll take an example, like basically figuring out what our new salaries and take-home pay was going to be given the new tax situation. So I did a lot of ChatGPT prompting of like, if I make this much before taxes and I live in Bal Harbor, Miami, Florida, and I'm withholding as a single or whatever information I input,
Mm-hmm.
what's my take-home pay going to be? The first few times I did different versions of that, I did double check just to make sure. But part of why I leaned into ChatGPT was because I find doing math that is like related to different facts and like tax rules extremely daunting and overwhelming. So before I even get to the math, I'm like, do I even have the setup right? So I found ChatGPT super helpful because all I did was feed it like what I needed to know, and then it did all that math for me. It explained all that math for me, and I'm happy to report we just got our first or second paycheck as a family, based in Florida, and the math pretty much checked out down to the cent. So this is not a ChatGPT endorsement, but for tax and budget and salary planning, it was very accurate and helpful.
Would you say that this was basically kind of making your life a lot easier as far as like pre-planning the move, but also were there any things that you tried to to like use ChatGPT for your move that didn't work out and you were like, oh, this is not what I should be using AI for?
Yeah, so I would say, great question. So it did make my life a lot easier because I got to a couple dead ends where I would have had to like hire an accountant, for example, to figure things out for me. And I was able to just like chat GPT it up. And that was like an expense saved and time saved and kind of like having to hire one more service or one more person, like that got taken off the plate. And that was really helpful. Where it was not helpful was I found for shopping around or getting estimates of things. So like I wanted to figure out a thing that would have been extremely helpful for me was like, what's the right car for us given the kind of size that we need, our budget, and also thinking about what the cost to insure it is. So again, this is moving and car rabbit hole, but sometimes even if a car lease is cheaper, it'll be more expensive to insure it if it's not as safe of a car, or sometimes like crossovers are cheaper to insure than sedans. So I would have loved for ChatGPT to tell me, okay, get this particular car model because even though the lease will be a little more, the insurance will go down. So it sucked at that. It did not give me accurate like lease pricing. It did not give me accurate insurance pricing. I had to get on the phone with the insurance broker and like figure all that out and call all different insurance companies before I got to the right one. So it was really, really bad at that. Same with movers. Like I wanted to get a sense of like how much will it cost to move a family of 4 in a 3-bedroom apartment from Manhattan to Florida. And it did a lot of like basic Google answers. Like it could be anywhere between $6,000 and $27,000, depending on the following factors. So I did not find it helpful when it came to shopping around. That would have been really nice if I could have had more help with that.
Another question I had is like, how long did it take you to kind of figure out that, oh, this is something that I can do. Here's how I ask the AI the appropriate prompts to kind of get the answers that I need. Because I found that like when I'm experimenting or using with different AI models, like the real key is learning how to ask the question correctly. And I spent a lot of time in the beginning while testing just learning how to ask the questions. I'm just curious how long that took you to kind of get in the groove.
It took me a minute to figure out what the right way to approach this was with ChatGPT. I did a lot of like, explain to me how taxes in Florida work, kind of prompts in the beginning. And those were utter failures and did not get me the info that I needed. I thought I could get the tools to do the math myself. And then I finally realized, oh, what if I really just treat it like an accountant and I'm like, here's how much I'm making, here's my paperwork, figure out how much I'm going to take home every month. Once I did that and I figured out, I can literally read you my prompt. It was like, if I make X amount of money and have this many dependents and live in my neighborhood, how much take home pay will I bring every paycheck or something? And it literally was able to do the math, explain to me what all the different like deductions and withholdings are, lay that all out for me, and then give me a yearly amount and a monthly amount. So that was amazing. But it did take me a minute to get there because I think as someone who is a collaborator and likes to figure things out on my own, my first approach was like, okay, let me ask ChatGPT for the tools to figure this out. And it took me a few steps before I was like, no, the whole point is that I don't want the tools. I want ChatGPT to do the figuring out for me. Once I did that, it was smooth sailing.
Yeah, it's sort of like a catch-22 because you have to know what you want, but you're also trying to go in without knowing what you want and figure these things out. So like I find that I spin wheels a lot of times when I'm trying to really get my answers. So then if you could do this move all over again, or if we have listeners out there who are, on the verge of a move, do you have any advice for them?
If you need to lay something out very clearly before making a decision to move, like whether it's your budget for moving, what your new salary is going to be, any kind of logistical problem that you're trying to solve as your decision making, ChatGPT is your friend. I find sometimes when you're making a really, really big, daunting life decision, what I personally struggle with is when there's so many moving pieces before you can even make the decision. I personally really struggle with like the whole, there's so much to figure out before we even do the thing of it all, that it's actually been really, really nice to have a tool that like got rid of, I would say, 3/4 of that, right? Like, there isn't that much to figure out. We can figure it out with our computer, and like with a glass of wine in 2 hours, I can do a lot of that, like figuring out like groundwork before actually having to make a decision or do the big thing. And that was like personally and like emotionally a huge crutch and a huge help for me.
I love that. Thank you so much. How far are you on unpacking? Are we like 10% of the way there, 0% of the way there?
We're like 3% of the way there.
I mean, I moved over a year ago and I think 18 months ago maybe, and I'm still somewhat unpacking. So, yeah. Yeah, that's just how it goes. Godspeed. Good luck. All right. Thanks, Esther.
Thanks, V. Love talking to you. Bye.
Next up, Allison Johnson is our senior smartphone reviewer, which means she's had to test a lot of different AI assistants over the last 2 years. Here's what she found most useful.
Definitely my favorite, and it's not even close, is using AI to put stuff on calendars. I don't know how it's possible to be bad at calendars, but I am bad at doing calendars. If there's like a way to mess up putting something on a calendar, I will do it. Like without fail, I'll put something on the wrong day or the wrong calendar. And my husband's like, what are you talking about? You don't have an appointment this weekend. I'm like, actually, I do. So the bar is already really low. I think that's important that like AI really can't mess this up more than I'm already messing it up. So it's the perfect candidate for like, maybe AI can do this. This has been something that's been like in the works with Gemini on Android phones for a while. And to be honest, the first few weeks, maybe a month I tried it, it like consistently got stuff wrong and like would insist that I was leaving. I had a flight out of the wrong airport. I was like ready to give up on this whole concept, but I don't know what they did. They did something behind the scenes. It works. It like works so well that I am just like never going to do my own calendar again, I think. On an Android phone, you'll like summon Gemini and you tap something that says, ask about this screen. And then if it'll kind of like take a screenshot and it looks for dates and stuff. And if this sounds like, did we need AI to do that? Yes and no. It's really smart, actually. It'll ask you like follow-up questions about what's on the screen. It can sort out like time zones. Like it will put something on my calendar for the correct Eastern time zone. And that'll be reflected. So it's the ideal kind of like AI tool, I think, where it's sort of low stakes. I wasn't doing it great to begin with, and it's pretty easy. So that's like my first AI on a phone thing where I'm like, yes, 100%. I want this, and I'm going to keep using it for the rest of time.
And so this is like Android phones only. There's no hope for us on iOS yet.
There is hope. iOS has it. It is an Apple Intelligence feature. It's like pretty good. I would say not as good as Gemini. It doesn't do the like follow-up questions. It did get tripped up on a time zone thing once. But again, if the bar is very low for you, and it is for me, it's like something to start with. And then you fix a couple things and you usually get there.
So like what's been most useful for you in terms of like these calendar adding? Is it like flights? Is it I don't know. I don't have kids, but I have been told by parents that kid schedules are absolutely banana bonkers. Appointments, everything. Like is there a particular thing that this calendar AI magic is best for?
It is 100% the kid stuff. And I didn't fully grasp it until you have a kid in school, or like my kid's in daycare, but it's like a preschool program. And you will get an email with the most insane list of dates and it's like crazy hair day is Friday, and it like the information will not be complete. It's like raptor visit on such and such day, wear your pajamas to school on this day. And going through all those things and adding on a calendar manually is a nightmare. And also it sucks if you send your kid to pajama day and they're not wearing pajamas. Like, it's so sad. But this is like 1,000% the best use case for it, because you do the screenshot, it scans the whole thing, and it's like, I added all this to your calendar. And then your kid isn't like sad when they show up on crazy hair day. But to be fair, my kid has crazy hair day every day, so we're covered there. But
my immigrant parents would have been like, "You're not doing that. Just be sad." So
maybe I'm depriving him of like a learning experience where it's like, well, sometimes you don't do crazy hair day on the right day, but for the most part, I think it's been good for everybody.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you found particularly useful?
We were having like the worst time with kid bedtime. This is a thing that happens throughout like early parenthood. Like, kids sleeps great. You're like, this is amazing. I can read a book and like relax at night. And then all of a sudden it goes completely off the rails, and you're like negotiating every little tiny thing. And you're like, please, dear God, I need this hour to myself. So I was like kind of desperate. And I went to the AI and I was like, describe the situation we're having, his age, and like, I was like, help me out. Like, what can we do? And it goes and finds whatever relevant like things on Reddit there are. Like, it's always Reddit. Like, there's so many parenting things on Reddit. But it kind of like brought it all back and was like, you could try this, this, and this. And I was like, okay, I want to try this thing and this thing. Can you put this all together in I called it a playbook, because like I need to communicate it to my husband, and
Right.
he will get overwhelmed if I just kind of sit down. I'm like, we're doing this thing. He has 2 passes. He can use a pass. We sit for 5 minutes, and it's like so convoluted. But it spit it all. It like explained everything. There were subheads. It was very like logical. And the funniest thing is the thing it could not do. I was like, great. Can you put this in a Google Doc for me? And it was like, oh, I'm sorry. I can't. I don't even understand.
Gemini, though.
I
This
know.
is the
I'm
Google platform.
yeah, like I have all the little like plugins for all the, I don't know why it couldn't do a Google Doc, but it literally was like, you can use Command, V or whatever, to like copy and paste it. And I was like, okay, don't explain copying and pasting to me, machine. But the kicker is like, this honestly did work. Like, it's probably a little more complicated than it needs to be, and we've like tweaked the system a little bit. But like, I sent my husband the playbook. He read it. Like, we went into bedtime like just ready. We were like a united front. And it has worked. So did Gemini just like read a bunch of Reddit threads back to me and like format it? Probably. Do I feel good about that? I'm not 100% sure, but like I need that kid to go to sleep. and that has happened. So I'm like, all right.
My real life bedtime story AI thing was like, for a while, I was just like really struggling to fall asleep. So my spouse actually was just asking AI to generate bedtime stories for me like I was a child.
That's adorable.
Just like based on our family. So like they generated a story about my cat Petey becoming a cult leader, and how Pablo, our other cat, brought upon his downfall. And I don't know what prompt they used, but it was like kind of good. And
oh my God.
if I were to like try and publish the story, I wouldn't, because it's just so hyper specific. But if I just needed like a quick, really funny bedtime story to listen to for myself to fall asleep, we've actually kind of done that every once in a while and just been like
Oh my
absolutely
gosh.
shocked. So yeah, it was like I forget the title of it, but it was just like Petey starts a cult was the title. And I was the number one cult follower. I didn't use any critical
Oh
thinking in
my
this AI story.
gosh.
And I was like, oh, that's actually quite accurate. Pablo, our other cat, would be the one to like,
What is a cat if not a cult leader? Where they
yeah.
you
So
do their bidding. They're a little bit evil.
yeah, I mean, like ideally, would it have meant more if my spouse had actually written that story, and like presented it? Yes, but
Mhm.
I am the child in this scenario. I
Yeah. Oh
needed
my
to go to
gosh.
bed right away, so they just like
Uh-huh.
whipped it up, and that was like a good running saga for a week, and I was like, yeah,
I
this
love
is actually
that.
kind of cute and adorable. So
I
we're
would
just
100% read Petey the cult leader, by the way.
I'll see if I can get the transcript because
Please.
that was truly just fundamentally the most I actually almost didn't go to bed. I was laughing so hard, but you
Right.
know,
That's the
it
danger.
was that is the danger, but we're just trying to help people go to bed,
We
help
just
their
want
kids go
some
to bed.
rest. We all just want some rest.
That's that's all we want. Thank you, Allison. I'm sure the parents will now have some other tools in their arsenal.
Please, yeah, message me on Threads. We'll brainstorm. We'll bring Gemini into it. Yeah. We'll get through it together.
So we're going to go to break, and when we come back, Jake will tell me his tips for how to best use AI for search. Because, AI sometimes do be lying. See you soon.
Fox Creative.
This is advertiser content brought to you by Salesforce. Hey, can I ask you something?
Sure.
Yeah, I've got a second.
Yeah, go for it.
Do you ever wish you had another set of hands at work?
Are you kidding me? Yes. All the time.
We have a backlog of all these customer inquiries that's just never ending.
I spend so much time crafting personalized responses for customer concerns. I don't know, could this extra set of hands do that?
Definitely.
What?
In today's workforce, there's often more to do than resources available. That's where Agentforce, the powerful AI from Salesforce, comes in. These AI agents represent a new world of digital labor. They work alongside you to proactively and autonomously resolve queries, deliver high-quality insights based on real-time data, and maintain complete context through customer interactions. It's productivity, efficiency, and time back, 24/7.
If we could have someone else vet and surface only the most complex issues to my team, that would be huge.
I could sit down at my desk and be like, okay, all the stuff has been taken care of. What are the bigger things I want to solve today?
With Agentforce, stop dreaming about that extra set of hands and start using AI agents to move your business forward. Learn more at salesforce.com/agentforce.
We're back. So it's pretty hard to search for anything on the web these days without an AI large language model butting in and telling you to put glue on pizza or something like that. Jake Kastronakis is our executive editor, and he's been figuring out how to use AI to help him find actually accurate information, a thing that I thought could not be done.
Well, for one, it is actually changing how I search online. I think for good reason, people are very skeptical of using ChatGPT or Gemini as a search engine, right? Sometimes it's wrong. That is in fact very true. But one thing that's interesting is that over the years, I've heard Google executives saying like, oh, all these kids, all these people who grew up smartphone first, they don't search the same way all of us do, right? And I'm in my mid-30s, and I think anybody, my age, anybody who's been using Google for decades, when you do a search, right, you're very precise and specific, right? You enter a couple keywords to get exactly what you want, right? If you want to figure out how much RAM the iPhone 16 has, you just type in iPhone 16 RAM. You're not going to type out that whole question. There's a bunch of extra words. They're going to get filtered out. They might, pull up search results you don't want. With ChatGPT, you really do just type in the question, and that allows you to get more specific and get nuances that you wouldn't be able to get. And this my example right now is one that I use for work, but I think it shows what these tools can do in a way that a normal search engine couldn't. So recently we covered that Reddit says it wants to become a search engine. That's really weird. That's a big idea. And so I wanted to make sure, okay, has Reddit said before that it wants to become a search engine? So I went to Google, right? Typed in Reddit search engine. Well, that's not a very good search because number one, it first off, you just get a ton of results from Reddit, right? All the results are from Reddit about search engines. Okay, well, so now you gotta know how to filter out Reddit searches. That's easy. So I filter out Reddit searches. Now it's just a bunch of stories about how everybody's using the Google hack where you just type in Reddit to your search. Okay, so because the keyword search is too messy, there's too many results, I can't actually find what I need here. So I go to ChatGPT to see, okay, can it find this for me? So I type in, hey, I'm looking for examples of Reddit the company or its executives saying that they want the company to be seen as or operate like a search engine. And that's like pretty specific, right? And it's able to sort through all of that. And it came back to me with a bunch of results. And it says, okay, Reddit hasn't said it wants to become a search engine, but here are some similar quotes from executives where they're saying things about how Reddit's thinking about search or how search is a valuable opportunity. And so it's able to, sift through all these other stories that are irrelevant but have the right keywords and find the specific things. Now, here's the trick, right? Everybody's worried about AI being wrong.
Right.
And I think when it comes to quotations, that's an area where AI is really likely to make stuff up. And so particularly for our jobs, we have to make sure everything is correct. And so fortunately, now ChatGPT does the thing where it will give you web links. So I clicked through these, and in this case, they were all right. And so that was fantastic. That was really useful. And I was able to use this to help me suss out whether they had made claims like this before. I will say as a counterexample, I tried a very similar thing when Apple said, okay, we're going to make all of the glass for the iPhones in the US. And I was like, okay, ChatGPT, how much of the glass is already made in the US? And it just made up a quote. It just made up a quote for me. Right. So you got to check. You have to check. But I think it's the same thing with Google, where you have to have the skill set.
Yeah, no, this is like a super interesting example because I have a much sillier problem that really mirrors what you were saying. So I have been watching Law and Order SVU because I found out my spouse had never seen an episode of Law and Order recently, and I was like, "What? This is blasphemy."
Aren't there like 900?
There's like 20,000. There's 24 or 25 seasons of Law and Order SVU. I actually wasn't aware that it was still going, but we started watching it, and he had seen clips before, and he's like, does Ice-T always have a ponytail in Law and Order SVU? And I was like, well, he changes up his look. I don't recall him wearing suits all the time either in the first season, because I think normally he wears something more like a leather jacket. So I went into Google and I was like, when does Ice-T lose the ponytail in SVU? I got nothing useful. And then I was like, okay, let me try the Reddit thing. Let me see if there's a Reddit community that talks about it. All I found were Reddit's voting on whether they like bald iced-tea or ponytail iced-tea better. I could see that there was like some sort
winning?
of... It was pretty even. There were like people who were pro ponytail iced tea, pro bald iced tea. But, I wasn't getting when does he change his look thing. So I went to Perplexity because, I'm trying like you, I'm testing all these things, and Perplexity calls itself an AI search engine first. And it told me like the exact season. And I was like, oh my God. And there were like links saying the exact season. So I was like, oh, at the end of season 3, beginning in season 4, that's when he changes his look. That's early. It's very early considering there's 24 seasons of this show, but it gave me the answer of like exactly when that like I'm in season 3 now, so we'll see if at the end when we switch to season 4 whether he becomes bald. But it's a very silly example, but it's kind of what you were referring to.
No, I think that's so interesting, and I think it really speaks to the fact that the types of searches you can do are changing. And I think that is the big thing to tap into, right? And so I do think there are people who are maybe missing out as a result of being too skeptical that AI can be useful. So I actually had another really interesting ChatGPT use case, literally just this past week.
Tell me about it.
So I've been trying to get work done in my apartment. And so I have this big open room, and I want to kind of put up a wall to turn it into a bedroom, right? Split it in half. It's a little bedroom, little office. And so I started thinking, okay, let's ask ChatGPT for ideas. And honestly, it was not very helpful, right? I described the project. It didn't really, I think it's not great at like giving me image generation that is consistent, coherent, and makes sense. I already had pretty clear ideas on my own of like where to put this wall. So like it wasn't too complicated. So that didn't really help me. But one thing I did was that you can keep going back to the same ChatGPT thread over and over again. And so, this is something I've been working on for like months at this point. And, every time I had an idea, I would just go back to this thread and I don't have anybody to toss these ideas around with, right? Like I don't have like a professional I can talk to because I need to hire that person. And so I would like bounce things back and it would give me some ideas to think through. And anyway, I finally got a contractor to work with me about a week ago. And the contractor sends over a quote, right? And so I paste the quote into ChatGPT. And it has like a breakdown of all the work this person is supposed to do for me. And I say, hey, are there any questions I should ask about this? And ChatGPT goes, well, it doesn't list the closet that you wanted to add. And that was a mind-blowing moment for me because I had told ChatGPT months ago that I needed to put up a wall to add a closet. And I had told the contractor this in person. But in their estimate, they had forgotten to include that. And it had noticed that they didn't include it. And I had missed it. I had missed that the closet wasn't there. And, that's like pretty important, right? It is important that we have in writing ahead of time the work that this person is going to be doing. And the fact that I had missed it, I thought it was like, that really, really sent me for a trip.
That gets to another thing that I've been thinking about like in my testing, which is like the best scenarios I found for AI chatbots is just like thinking of it as me talking to myself in the mirror, but the mirror version of me has like Google access and like a running list of everything that I said I wanted. So like I don't know if I believe all of the hype where these big tech companies are like, AI is going to be your companion. It's going to be I find it more useful when I think of it as like I'm talking to myself because I don't have a sounding board and I need a sounding board. And all the other people in my life who I would use as a sounding board are one, tired of hearing me talk about this, or two, currently unavailable. So I have these like different project things that I've been like iterating on, brainstorming on where it's just like, ooh, I don't want to bother someone just yet because I am going to take something to someone and do a real in life meet person hashing out of ideas, but I want to go in prepared. I want to like have thought through the stuff already. I want to know what questions I should ask or like, have I missed something after like what I said those things? And in that sense, it's been pretty useful. Still not useful at times, like in the beginning, which gets to my other issue with AI is that you have to do so much training for it to get to that like little nugget, which is pretty labor intensive. But when it works, you're just kind of like, look at that.
That's such a good way to think about it. Like, I think you're right. And it's funny. Like, I think people get very concerned, rightfully so, about like where this is taking away people's jobs. And I think in these cases, like, it really is just talking to myself. It in a lot of ways. It's like talking to, you're right. It's like talking to myself with Google, who's just able to spit stuff back at me.
Yeah. I wish we talked about this kind of way to use AI more instead of like I get why companies do the flashy marquee versions, but this I feel like is more useful framing.
I will say there's a limit to this. There are also those stories of the people who like go off the deep end and like ChatGPT told me I can run through a wall, and you're like, no.
Yeah, no,
like,
no.
Like you still have to like use all of your like good judgment and instincts here. If you use it rationally, I think there are actually some like very like simple ways it can kind of just make you more productive or able to think through things a little bit more clearly. It's not like I would have not been able to accomplish these things without AI, but it was a lot easier and a lot more fun than having to search through a million forums on how walls are put up. Right now, it's true that does lead to the downsides. Right, we've been writing quite a bit about how Google search traffic is declining, and I think some of this is because of AI. And it's like, right, okay, so all these construction forums that I probably would have read through, are not getting my traffic, and that absolutely leads to issues. On the other hand, it's hard to argue that would have been a better experience for me than having a tool that can just give me a readout.
Totally. And, we'll see. Like, I don't think you can put it back in the box at this point. So you might as well figure out how to make it work for you in some ways. Some ways. Like, find the practical because it's getting shoved down your throat, whether you like it or not. At least with search, it's helping with the fact that Google is no longer what it used to be.
There was this idea forever that Google could not be toppled, right? Nobody could build a better search engine than Google. And it's true. I think like nobody has built a better search engine than Google. However, it turns out that this other product is quite competitive. And it has challenges. It absolutely does. But so does Google. And I think the key is knowing what the difficulties are and knowing where you need to be careful and apply your judgment in both cases.
So simple, but also the rub. The applying your good judgment, I think, is a thing.
So much less fun if you just believe everything it says.
Yeah, so much less fun. And also, like, you can have good judgment or believe you have good judgment and then find, I got fooled. I gotta practice a little bit more. But to your point, the good judgment part is key. Well, that was enlightening. Thank you so much for, talking with me about how you're evolving your search process. I think that was like really helpful to just chat that out, and also made me realize that I also am kind of going through that same process myself. But yeah, thank you so much.
No problem. Good to talk with you. Thanks for having me.
Last up, Travis Larchuk produces the Vergecast, and he's actually been vibe coding. We found someone who actually has vibe coded using Google Gemini to help him with admin for tabletop role-playing games.
I run an RPG online for some friends over, what are we using now? I think we're using Discord now. This is an original world. It is inspired by Pokemon. And so what the players are doing is they are these trainers. They're going around and capturing these creatures or finding other trainers who have their own creatures to battle against them. And this is an original rule set that I created. And one of the things that I wanted this world to have was that the creatures would essentially be randomized. Like, I don't know if procedurally generated is the right term for this, but basically, like, I wrote a rule set of like, here's everything that a creature could be. Like, here are the moves that it potentially could have. Like, here's how many bonuses it can have at this level. But I didn't want to like have a bunch of lists printed out where I just like roll dice to like see on each table like each thing that the creature would be. So I fed the rule set into Gemini and told it what I wanted it to vibe code for me. And so I will now share with you and our video audience the app, and I will do my best to describe it for the audio audience. Here is the Crystal Spirits generator. These are called Crystal Spirits, which I think also sounds like a Boone's Farm style. Pretty wild. Okay, so Crystal Spirits generator at the top of the page. It lets you select number of spirits you want to generate from 1 to 4. the level of the spirits that you're generating from 1 to 6, which biome they're going to be generated in. This world has color-coded biomes according to the visible light spectrum. So I'm going to generate, let's see, 2 spirits, level 3 in the blue biome. All right, we'll generate. And so we've got, it also automatically determines their initiative order for combat as soon as they're generated, and gives them a name randomized from a list of, I think, about 200 real animals and fictional creatures that I also fed into Gemini. So we've got octopus crab is the first creature that was generated. It is a water creature.
This is amazing.
It's got 2 XP. Its combat die is a D8. Its attack strength is 2. So it's interesting, like the way that you do this, it's like you ask Gemini for a cake and then it gives you a cake. And then you taste the cake and you're like, can you make me another cake, but like use less salt? It's just like you're getting all of these like fully formed cakes, right? So each time it'll like create this thing, and then you have to test it to make sure that it's implemented the rules correctly, and then you make little tweaks. So yeah, this is what I've been doing with my time with Gemini.
Oh my goodness. How long did this actually take you to make? Because I think we've heard the term vibe coding a bunch recently in all of these, developer conference keynotes. Did you have like the basics of programming in your head? Like, did that help inform how you were going to do this? Or did you just go like, here are the rules, Gemini, make a thing?
I went, here are the rules, Gemini, make a thing. Like, I know very, very basic coding. It was something that I was actually really good at as a kid. And then my life, like, it was one of those moments where 2 branching paths presented themselves. And I went on the one that didn't make me an insanely rich engineer. But yeah, so I mean, like I'm really into like tabletop games in general, like board games, and like what are instructions to a board game other than like a extremely simple set of like rules and code, right? So it's not like too far of a stretch to take that and then give that to Gemini and ask it to create an interactive out of it. The parts that take a lot of time, like it basically, like what you're seeing here are like, there are a bunch of, it's a very simple looking app, but there are buttons that have like different colors associated with them. Like I didn't ask it to do any of that. Like it picked all the fonts. It like picked the emoji that it uses when it's showing that something is like a water element. All of that stuff, like Gemini came up with by itself. But the thing that does take time is like you experiment using it, you realize that it misinterpreted a rule that you gave it, and then you have to convince it that it's wrong. Because sometimes it'll be like, well, I did that for you. And you're like, no, you didn't. Like, please try again.
Was it just something that you were like, I don't want to have all these sheets. Let me see if AI can do the thing. Or was it something that you found other game masters have been doing that you've heard of? Like, is this a Travis original idea? Did you find it on Reddit? Like, what sparked this as like a reason to use AI?
So there are a bunch of systems that work for existing like games, like for example Dungeons and Dragons. There are plenty of places online that you can go to, and your character sheets are already in there. Like, you know, the dungeon master, basically all they have to worry about is coming up with whatever challenges the players are going to have to face next. Like all of the rules for the enemies are baked in, like rolling the dice, that's all baked in. Because this is an original game system that I came up with, and I don't know how to code something like that for me, I figured I would just see if it worked. Yeah, I think it worked a lot better than I expected it to. I mean, in terms of AI, like I wouldn't want to use it to ask it like, hey, so what should happen next in this story? I'm like, the entire point of playing the game is that we are coming up with what happens next in the story. So I wouldn't want to use it for that. But I think for sort of this admin use case, I'm pretty happy with it. It does something that would be a lot more complicated for me to do on the fly. Like it would be possible, but I would just be like, hang on, everybody. And then I got to roll a D100 right now. Okay, the first part of the animal is fish. you know, like I could do that, but instead I basically wrote all of that down and then told Gemini, like, make a thing that does that for me.
I feel like you just described what I think, the real use case of AI should be, which is taking the tedium out. Because to your point, I can just imagine all the various dice that you have clattering on a table, and then it falls off the table, and then you're like, hang on guys, I gotta figure this out. Oh, now I gotta find the dice. Oh, my cat is taking the dice in. And just kind of interrupting the game flow. So just like offloading the admin, but keeping the creative bits to yourself. Like, I feel like that's what we should be doing, instead of just saying that AI is gonna do it all for us. So I don't know. I feel like this is a very cool, nerdy, after my own heart as a board gamer way to use AI. I love it.
Thanks, B. Bye.
One more break, and when we come back, I'll tell you what I've personally been using AI for. This is the Vergecast.
Fox Creative.
This is advertiser content brought to you by Salesforce. Hey, can I ask you something?
Sure.
Yeah, I've got a second.
Yeah, go for it.
Do you ever wish you had another set of hands at work?
Are you kidding me? Yes.
All the time.
We have a backlog of all these customer inquiries that's just never ending.
I spend so much time crafting personalized responses for customer concerns. I don't know, could this extra set of hands do that?
Definitely.
What?
In today's workforce, there's often more to do than resources available. That's where Agentforce, the powerful AI from Salesforce, comes in. These AI agents represent a new world of digital labor. They work alongside you to proactively and autonomously resolve queries, deliver high-quality insights based on real-time data, and maintain complete context through customer interactions. It's productivity, efficiency, and time back, 24/7.
If we could have someone else vet and surface only the most complex issues to my team, that would be huge.
I could sit down at my desk and be like, okay, all the stuff has been taken care of. What are the bigger things I want to solve today?
With Agentforce, stop dreaming about that extra set of hands and start using AI agents to move your business forward. Learn more at salesforce.com/agentforce.
All right, we're back. Time for me to confess the very, very silly thing that I have been using AI for. So to bring it back a bit, a couple of years ago, I kind of fell into the astrology rabbit hole on TikTok. And I'm not talking about, oh, you just look in your weekly horoscope and you look at your sun sign. I'm an Aries. And you go, oh, this is what's going to happen for Aries. No, I got into the extremely nerdy version of this, which is natal birth charts. Oh, yeah. It takes your time of birth, where you were born, and depending on the status of the stars in the sky at that point in time, you can apparently learn a lot about yourself and what's going to happen. And it's absolutely crazy. I want to preface this by saying that I don't really believe in a lot of it, but there's been some batshit things happening over the last couple of years. And when you feel that there's no hope, I don't know, sometimes I feel a little better going and looking at my natal chart and going, oh, Mercury is in retrograde and that's why everything is sucking. Yay. And just going on with my life because I don't know, that's there. So at the start of this journey, I was using the app CoStar. You may have heard of it. It's an AI-powered astrology app, and it's pretty well known for being very sassy in its horoscopes, but also very surface level. Like if you want to go deep into stuff and kind of get some really nitty-gritty insights, which, it starts off being fine, just getting roasted by an AI saying like, girl, Mercury retrograde's happening, so get your shit together, you sad sack. Like, that kind of vibe of thing. After a while, you get really into something, you want to learn more, you want something more direction in your life because the chaos of the world is getting really unmanageable. So, CoStar wasn't cutting it for me. And I was trying all these different apps, inputting my birth time. Nothing seemed to be answering the questions I had when I was in these moments of like, dear God, I need something to tell me it's going to be okay. So one day I was just on the site, astroseek.com, and then I scrolled down and I went, it has listed everything out so that you can copy paste the entire details of your birth chart into ChatGPT. And then you can just have ChatGPT save your birth chart as a memory, and then you can ask it whatever. So basically, I have been asking ChatGPT stuff like, I'm planning this project. What transits of planets in the sky support me being successful? When am I supposed to manifest certain things? And like I said, I don't actually believe in all of this nonsense, but I am trying to make sense of a senseless world. And I've actually found it kind of useful to, I don't know, just go to ChatGPT and ask my unhinged questions when I'm feeling just a little out of my mind and just need to be like brought down to earth a little bit. And, at least I'm not using ChatGPT as a therapist. I have a real person for that. But yeah, I go to it with a bunch of different timing and astrology questions and go like, oh, thank you, ChatGPT. My Mercury is in the 9th house and in Aries, and that does mean I am a direct communicator. Thank you. So very silly placebo type things. I probably just confessed to all of you that I'm neurotic as hell and am using AI for a very, very silly purpose. But hey, I've downloaded every AI-powered astrology app at some point during the past 5 years. Do I think this is a particularly healthy coping mechanism? No, absolutely not. But it is what it is. And I don't know, it's working for me. So that's what I've been using AI for. Don't at me that astrology is fake because I already know and agree with you. Just let me have this. Miss Cleo isn't around anymore. Just let me have this, okay? So that's it for the Vergecast. Thanks to all of my colleagues who joined me today. As always, if you have thoughts, questions, feelings, examples of how you use AI in your daily life, you can always email at us at vergecast@theverge.com or keep calling the hotline 866-VERGE11. This show is produced by Eric Gomez, Brendan Kiefer, Travis Larchuk, and Andrew Marino. The Vergecast is a Verge production and part of the Vox Media Podcast Network. See you next time.